There are no distinction between what is real and what is unreal, nor between what is true and what is false. A thing is not necessarily either true or false, but it can be both true and false. Hello people of the universe, it's me again, Jasper J. Pindok, a currently second year student of Norso Sharon campus, taking a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Social Studies. And today, we are going to talk about postmodern philosophies. So sit, relax, listen, and learn with yours truly. This is Unit 3, Philosophy of Education and Personal Philosophy of Teaching, and we are specifically focusing on postmodern philosophies. And here are the objectives. Define what is postmodern philosophies, the characteristics of postmodern philosophies, and its categories. Discuss the relation of postmodern philosophies in teaching. To start, we will unlock what is postmodern philosophies. Postmodern refers to the period after the World War II, mainly after 1968. Postmodern philosophy is philosophical direction which is critical of certain foundational assumptions of Western philosophy, and especially of the 18th century Enlightenment. Postmodern philosophies emphasizes the importance of power relationships, personalization, and discourse in the construction of truth and worldviews. Postmodern philosophies firmly asserts that the importance of truth and general views in all aspects. Postmodernism is largely a reaction to the assumed certainty of scientific or objectives efforts to explain reality. In essence, it stems from a recognition that reality is not simply mirrored in human understanding of it, but rather is constructed as the mind tries to understand its own particular and personal reality. And for this reason, postmodernism is highly skeptical of explanations which claim to be valid for all groups, cultures, traditions, or races, and instead focuses on the relative truths of each person. In the postmodern understanding, interpretation is everything. Reality only comes into being through our interpretations of what the world means to us individually. Postmodernism relies on concrete experience over abstract principles, knowing always that the outcome of one's own experience will come necessarily be fallible and relative, rather than certain and universal. Furthermore, we will talk about the effects or implications of postmodernism on ways the learners learn and instructors teach. But before that, we will dig first on the several categories belong to postmodern philosophies. First on the list is deconstructive criticisms, then dialogic criticisms, hermeneutics, Marxist criticisms, new historicisms, phenomenology and criticisms, post-structuralism, reader-response criticisms, semiotics, and structuralism. Now, we have deconstructive criticisms, follows the belief that objects have meaning because that it has been defined as through language. Then we have dialogic criticisms. It is a method of understanding literature that draws a meaning from the interplay of several disparate voices. Next is hermeneutics. The word hermeneutics means the interpretation of language, whether written or spoken. Generally, hermeneutics is an activity that interests biblical scholars, and the word is sometimes used in philosophy as well. Then we have Marxist criticism. It is a method of socioeconomic analysis that analyzes societal conflict using a materialist interpretation of historical depth and dialectical view of social transformation. Then new historicism, a method of literary criticisms that emphasizes the historicity of a text by relating it to the configuration of power, society, and ideology in given time. Phenomenology and criticisms. Phenomenology is a philosophical method founded by the German philosopher Edmund Husserl. It attempts to overcome the division between subject and object, or the mental and the material, by examining consciousness and the object of consciousness simultaneously. Then we have post-structuralism. Post-structuralism encourages a way of looking at the world that challenges what comes to be accepted as truth and knowledge. Post-structuralists always call into question how certain accepted facts and beliefs actually work to reinforce the dominance of power of particular actors within international relations. To put post-structuralism into action, educators would need to teach about the mosaic of different perspectives out there in the world. For example, a teacher could ask students to think about topics from the perspectives of different characters in a story. Then moving on, we have the reader's response criticism, a research method or a type of textual research that literary critics use to interpret text. Then we have semiotics. It is an investigation into how meaning is created and how meaning is communicated. Its origins lie in the academic study of how signs and symbols, or visual and linguistics, create meaning. Semiotics and education are research fields with mutual interests and overlaps. The study of signs and sign processes help to understand how teaching means to communicate by means of signs and how learning means to interpret and to grow in the capacity of interpreting signs. Then we have structuralism. It is a mode of knowledge of nature and human life that is interested in relationships rather than individual objects, or alternatively, where objects are defined by a set of relationships of which they are part and not by the qualities possessed by them taken in isolation. Speaking properly, according to the rules of proper grammar and mechanics, using proper sentence structure. Reading properly according to the rules of comprehension. Writing properly according to the rules of proper grammar and mechanics, using proper sentence structure. And those are categories of postmodern philosophies. Moving on, we will excavate the application or effects of postmodernism on ways learners learn and instructors teach. Okay, in postmodern education, teachers just lead students to discover new things. They provide opportunities to discuss about different subjects and make creative ways. In this situation, students learn to listen to other voices. They tolerate other criticisms and try to think in critical way. They learn to respect other cultures and nationalities. Also, they emphasize on cooperative learning, independent learning, and the dialectic, critical, and verbal methods. Well, postmodern society is inundated with information. Information has become abundant and free during the 21st century. Information is now fully accessible. We live in a democratized society of digital interactivity. Postmodern learners are required to know the difference between data, information, and knowledge. Students must develop information literacy skills and the awareness of their own selection bias. The postmodern instructor must be able to walk with their students through the data and information to knowledge that is both involved with the purposes of the course of studies and with the meaningfulness to the life of each individual student. Postmodern life is not just about rapid and turbulent change. It is also about fragmentation of old systems and expectations. There are constant disruptions. It is hard to count on any one set of values or any one paradigm. To deal with fragmentation of the old paradigm, postmodern students apply their own story and experience to the learning environment. The postmodern instructor engages with learner from an appreciative perspective, encourages this person to relate the direction of the course or program to their personal experiences. instead of viewing this as a past baggage that should be left outside the educational experience. Instructor or tutor and student co-create new learning and understanding in the moment. Remember, the aims of education are teaching critical thinking, production of knowledge, development of individual and social identity, and self-creation. In postmodern education, teachers just lead students to discover new things. And that's all for postmodern philosophies, and I hope we enjoy and gain something today. Once again, this is Jasper JD Dog, yours truly.